to another episode of Teasing Nyumbani. Yesterday you were with Peter and oh my god. Oh yes, let's do the warm-ups. We said this is our warm-up for beginners. You're gonna do that. If you have an injury, you're gonna do that, right? I hope you were able to keep up with Peter. Let's do this today. All you need, I hope you're in your shoes. You have a hand towel like mine here, because today our workout is going to be body weight and this, a hand towel. Perfect, perfect. Let's go. So we're going to do 3 sets of jumping jacks. If you have a back injury, this is what you're going to do for our warm-up. And if you're not injured, this is what you're going to do times 20. Rest time, 30 seconds. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Breathe in, out. The reason why I emphasize breathing in is so that you can let in air in your lungs and so that you can control your breathing and panting. 30 seconds rest. Start now. Walk around. Don't sit down. We're just getting started. I'm so excited. We're getting started. The warmth is coming through. We have 15 more seconds to go for our rest time. Just walk around, don't sit down yet. Walk around. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There we go. Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Remember I said, if you have a back injury, 1, 2, 3, up to 20. Our rest time starts now. 30 seconds. Breathe in and out. In and out. In, out. Nice. We have 10 more seconds to go. So 10, 9, 8, breathe in. Breathe in. Exactly. 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Remember, if you have an injury, 1, 2, 3, this can be a back injury, a knee injury. You don't need to do impact, just move it side to side, right? 20 of those. Our rest time starts now. Breathe in and out. In and out. Nice, nice. Now I'm going to demonstrate our next workout. We're going to do burpees. So, for those who have injury, you go down, throw your legs back if you can, throw it to the front if you can, and up. Don't jump. Throw it back, throw it to the front. 2. Okay? For the beginners, you'll be here, 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 and you jump. 1, and jump. Let's do it together. You first hold down flat, throw your legs back, throw them back to the front, and then you jump. Perfect, perfect. Now if you feel that you cannot do the jump, you can still go there, throw your legs back, throw them to the front, and just stand. Okay, well done. So for the advance, you're going to go down into a sinking position, up and jump, and jump. So we are going to do 15. The injured are going to do 10. Beginners are going to do 12. Are we together? So 10 for the injured, because they are a bit slower in movement and careful. 12 for the beginners, and 15 for the advanced. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Go down, throw it back, 1. Go down, throw it back, 2. Down, throw it up, 3, 4, 5, 6, slowly, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and one more, and 15. Breathe in, out. For this, our rest period will be 45 seconds, starting now. Breathe in and out. In and out. Make sure you're giving your lungs enough air. If you're like me, you're panting. And yes, we are doing this. A new way to start your day. Get energetic. Breathe in, out. Nice. Are you feeling the heat? You have a few more seconds to go. 10 seconds left. 5 seconds left. 2 seconds left. And there we go. Remember, if you are a beginner, just go here, throw it back, throw it to the front, and jump. And if you can't jump, or you're still learning to throw your legs back, you come here, that, and then try and throw it back, and jump. And if you are hurt by any chance, go down slowly, take it back to the front, and stand. That's 1. So let's do that. 2. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, start. Advance, remember your tummy to the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, and one more, 15. Breathe in and out. In and out. In, out. Our rest time starts now. Breathe in. Nice. In. That feels good. Breathe in, walk around, then sit down, just around. You got some water, take it, you think how 20 seconds. One more set to go. You got this. Let's go. So we're going to do for the advanced 15, beginners 12, the injured 10. Let's do this. The advanced, make sure your stomach is on the ground. 2. Doing it nice and slow. 3. Lie down and come up. 4. Lie down and come up. 5. Nice and slow. 6. 7. 8. 9. Are you feeling it, guys? 10. 11. Nice and slow. 12. 13. 14. And one more. And 15. Well done. Bravo, bravo, bravo. You did it. Breathe in. Nice. Breathe in. I'm trying to catch my breath. Hope you're sweating like I do. Wipe it down. Go sit down. Walk around. If you're feeling faint, you know the heart rate was up, so you know how to bring blood flow to your head. Breathe in. Nice. So, do you have your towel with you? I am ready for this next workout because I love the towel workouts. Oh, time's up. I love towel workouts because sometimes you can think that you can't get equipment, but there's so much to use at home. So we're going to use a hand towel. Right, you're right. So you stand in this position, holding your towel up, swing it down, make sure your back is straight, right, and back up. 1. Okay, we are going to do 20 for the advanced, 15 for the beginners, and 10 for those who are injured. For some reason, if you're feeling discomfort in your back and you with an injury, please sit down, legs apart, and just bring it down and up. Bring it down and up. Okay? So you will not be left out. You can do it while seated for comfort. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, and go. 1, your legs stiff straight. 2, nice. 3, all the way up. 4, back your tummy and move. 5, nice. 6, you're doing well. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, nice. 12, nice. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, legs straight and arms straight. 19 and 20. That was so nice. Can you feel it? Feel it on your lower back, and also just feel your arms, your rear shoulders, and all through your shoulders. Can you even feel the palm? I hope you're enjoying the workout today. I know after those burpees you're like, oh, it's a breath of fresh air. This is not taking our heart rates high. But you're doing good. Hold it tight again in readiness. We have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, and start. Holding it there. Here we go. Legs like your fat. All the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm turning like this so that you can see the position of my back. 11, 12, 13, all the way. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Well done. Perfect. Let's go for the last set. Remember, we said the injured can sit on the seat with legs apart and just go under and over. Just make sure your back is straight as you're seated on that seat. Let's go. Legs apart. Stiff straight. 1. All the way. Feel the squeeze on your lower back. 2. Nice. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Let me turn like that again so that you see my back. 11, and my legs how stiff straight. 12, 13, 14, 15. Make sure you're pulling the towel tight. 16, 17, 18, 19, And one more. 20. Well done. You did that exercise so well. Our rest time starts now. Now in our next workout, we're going to do, still holding the towel there, right? Side to side. One. Make sure you're crunching. Make sure you're feeling it, right? So that we get in touch with these ones as we burn our shoulders more. Hold the towel tight, tight, and pull it out, okay? And take it right all the way to the back. Let's do this. Our time's up. So when you're seated, if you have an injury, you'll be here. Just go as far as you possibly can, depending on how you're feeling on the place. If you're a beginner, you'll do 12. If you're an advanced, you'll do 15 of the standing. Oh my goodness, I'm sweating so much. I hope you are. Hope you're enjoying this. Let's go. 1, 2, look at my legs. 3, and my arms straight. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5 more for advance. 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Well done. Well done. Oh my goodness. That is so painful on the arms. So we have 10 seconds of rest starting now. 30 seconds of rest starting now. Walk around. Don't sit down if you don't have an injury. Walk around. We're almost done. We're almost there. We're almost there. Let's get this done. Walk around, pace around. You know, you don't want to cool down. You don't want to feel tired, don't you? Well done. 1 more second to go. There we go. We're going to our last set. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5 more, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Well done, you did well today. My name is Evelyn Owala and you're watching TZ Nyumbani. Don't miss out on our next episode on what we would use at home to get that workout in just 30 minutes and start your day on a new level. Enjoy your day.
Help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain.
If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
music and entertainment. Just move to NTV.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
Death threats and distress. Nigerian man whose photo is used in a fake post claiming that he had contracted coronavirus speaks out.
Intention of moving around, I shed tears. Even that night I was shedding tears to my wife. I was like, don't worry, calm down, I believe that God will see you through.
Was this Tanzanian superstar almost stabbed at a concert? We tell you this is fake or fact.
Did Venezuelan president urge women to have 6 children?
False. False.
We'll find out in true or false.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
Death threats and distress. Nigerian man whose photo is used in a fake post claiming that he had contracted coronavirus speaks out.
Intention of moving around, I shed tears. Even that night I was shedding tears to my wife. I was like, don't worry, calm down, I believe that God will see you through.
Was this Tanzanian superstar almost stabbed at a concert? We tell you this is fake or fact.
Did Venezuelan president urge women to have 6 children?
False. False.
We'll find out in true or false.
The young ones are at home, and we know how that can go. Don't worry, we've got you.
A lesson will be learned.
-3 times -4.
They can have fun as they learn on NTV.
What does 0 mean? It's just a number that means nothing.
This is so much fun! It's our secret. NTV, turning on your world.
Dyslexia is a specific learning disability where those with this condition have trouble reading accurately and fluently.
Sometimes you will say a word, but it doesn't come to me as you said it.
Can even read a word that is not there.
Dyslexia is about reading things backwards. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
There is a connection between dyslexia and mental illness. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
It is more common in boys than it is in girls. Fact or fiction?
Apparently, yes.
One can live a perfectly normal life with treatment, but this condition can't be cured.
Just move to the next level with the Daily Nation. Every day, every Monday, Junior Sport will move you to the top of your class with KCPE revision papers. To move to a healthier, fitter, and more conscious you, read The Healthy Nation every Tuesday. My network will inspire your career, your passion, your biashara, and your network every Friday. Just move to the truth. This is NTV.
Hello East Africa, good morning and welcome to this 4th edition of Your World, Your New Normal. The world as we knew it has been turned upside down by COVID-19. We're here to keep you company as you adjust to your new normal. It's a show that focuses on your health in the face of your changing world. Now we also show you how the rest of the world has been affected by this pandemic. We'll bring you views and experiences from the East African region and the world at large. Now here's what we have in store for you today. Today our main topic of discussion is how to boost your immune system through good nutrition habits to help you stand a better chance of fighting the new coronavirus. What's all this hype about Dalgona coffee and is it good for you?
Sasa ndio nimeanza katakata nyanya, lakini sina ile chopping board.
This Kenyan guy tried to cook and ended up burning everything literally in his kitchen. The smallest woman in the world has a message for you. Let's find out the latest on COVID-19 from across the East African region and also the scene globally with help from the Daily Nation's Newsplex website. And these are the figures at the moment. First of all, globally, we've got 2 million, just over 2 million people who've been confirmed, who've tested positive for COVID-19. And globally, 510,350 people have recovered. And we've also got 134,000 people, 616 who have lost their lives. Just a few countries, the USA, 644,000 confirmed, 48,708 recovered, and there have been 28 deaths. Spain, 180,000 confirmed positive, and just over 70,000 who've recovered, 18,812 deaths. And the situation in France is 147,868 who've confirmed positive, and out of those, 30,955 have recovered, with 17,167 deaths. Let's come closer home to East Africa to see what the situation is here. Let me start with Kenya. These are the statistics for Kenya. We've got 9,630 people who've been tested, and out of these, 225 people have tested positive. 10 people have so far sadly died, and we've got 53 who've recovered. That's in Kenya. Moving on to our neighboring countries, we have a situation where in Tanzania, confirmed cases 53, 3 people have died, 7 people have recovered. In Ethiopia, it's 85 people confirmed positive. We've got 3 people who've died and 15 who've recovered. Somalia, the situation there is that 60 people have been confirmed positive. There have been 2 deaths and 2 people who have recovered. In South Sudan, 4 people confirmed positive. No one, fortunately, has so far been reported dead, and no recoveries as yet. In Uganda, 55 people have been confirmed positive. No one has died, and 8 people have recovered. In Rwanda, 134 people confirmed positive. No deaths yet reported. 49 people have recovered. And in our other neighboring country, Burundi, we have 5 people who have been confirmed tested positive. There's been 1 death, and no one who's been reported to have recovered from the coronavirus. So that's the situation at the moment around the world, and also in East Africa, in our East African region. Now, remember that you can get the latest, all these figures from our Newsplex. That's by going to the website, which is www.nation.co.ke/newsplex. Now, social media has been on fire of late, with people either complaining about or congratulating, sorry, my screen is getting very faint, congratulating Governor Mike Sonko for giving them alcohol along with their food donations. Sonko explains why he's doing so.
Giving some small bottles of Hennessy in the food pack, the package which we give to our people. I think from the research which has been conducted by the World Health Organization and various health organizations, it has been revealed that alcohol plays a very major role in killing the coronavirus or any sort of virus.
hardly a day after we highlighted South Africa's well-organized food distribution in Johannesburg, yesterday residents in Cape Town's low-income township of Mitchell's Plain blocked roads and police fired rubber bullets to restore order during a protest demanding food parcels from the state. All this as South Africa continues with a hard lockdown to reduce the spread of the new coronavirus.
And people came out of their homes this morning frustrated, wanting to know what happened, where is our food parcels? Because when we watch the news, we see stuff being distributed in different areas in our province, but not in Tafelberg, and the people is angry.
Leon Lidigu, a freelance journalist and a former Nation FM presenter who's currently in India, tweeted this to alert people on the horrible situation that Kenyans in India are facing. He'll be joining us in a few minutes. He says Kenyans out there have depleted all their resources and are almost sleeping hungry. Take a look at an example.
Due to the spread of COVID-19, most of us are held in India. Majority of the Kenyans who came to India for treatment have completed successfully and nicely their various treatment. However, due to this worldwide problem of COVID-19, we are caught up in our hotels, and unfortunately, most of those Kenyans who are in India have exhausted the little resources that they planned for. So it is my humble request to our beloved government to act immediately and evacuate us.
And Leon will join us much later in the program. Mike Wainaina, a single guy living in the not-so-leafy suburbs of Nairobi's Kahawa Sukari, is setting up the conversation today. He rarely cooks, and he's not alone. Many other single people in Kenya, especially men, find it hard to cook, and when they do, nutrition is not always a priority. Here's Mike's journey from pot to plate.
Morning, chipo.
But then I was going to ask you the same question.
But unakula sijui ati Sanford.
Days and for that. Nataka kwanza kupika. Mimi kupika.
Imagine msema mwenye anakuletea hiyo abiu ameenda anatoka kushika nini kwa Luisa na hivyo. Corona na kwa karatasi kwa walo.
Kuanzia leo naanza kupika. Niambia hadi leo naanza kupika. Naenda nipike ugali na kitu.
You know, time yote nimekuwa home niki quarantine ama nikikaa home because we are not working, we are working from home. I've been trying out new things like kupika food, chai, pancakes. Tumebake keki zika backfire, sijui ziliturn out kuwa pika cupcakes zika turn out zikakuwa cookies. Zilikauka. Sasa nimepika chai, ndio imeoverflow, imemwagika yote kwa nini? Okay, kumwagika yote but imemwagika like nusu yote. I just realized that most of the challenges napitia nikipika, nimekuwa nikichoma like utensils zangu, nimechoma vijiko, nimechoma my sieve, nimechomeka what else? My serving spoons zimechomeka, plates zingine zimechomeka. Because at times naziekelea hapo next to the gas and then ama next to the sufuria, I can't even remember nimeekelea hapo, napata imechomeka on the side. Oh my god. So due to what you're going through now, and also my friends, they've been challenging me like nikuwe napika, because I haven't been doing that for some time now. Na nikiamua kupika ni ile once in a while, like I'll cook once in a month, which is not supposed to happen like that. I've been surviving more on fast food, as you're seeing. Mi buy chipo sana sana, kasi chipo utanipata nimebuy maybe burger ama nini, and I'll survive on that. But now this quarantine thing, the corona thing, I'm to force, like, no, you're at home, what are you gonna do? You can't survive on fast food all the time. So nimekuwa nikiingia kwa kitchen na try new things.
Isn't that? Lazy? Kachumbao. Vitu zimepanda. Sasa ndio nimeanza katakata nyanya, lakini sina ile chopping board. Chopping board yangu ni kama ilivunjika. Sasa anza na kitunguu, naweka kitunguu. After mafuta imekuwa moto, unaweka kitunguu hapo ndani. So ugali iko jikoni, ugali ndio hiyo hapo. And some skuma hapo zinaiva. So I'm just waiting for them zinini kabisa, alafu then food is ready to go. So my food is ready. Hapo kuna skuma, some zinaitwa nini, spinach, na mbuzi fry na ugali. So from now on, as I officially jita Chef Mike, because we manage.
Nimekufeel, Mike, usi hike out of the kitchen. We'll catch up with your diary, more of your cooking next time. And now, to discuss matters nutrition and immunity, I'm joined in the studio by Jane Mutuku, who is a clinical nutritionist at the Nairobi Hospital. We also have Irene Jiro, a community nutritionist, joining us via Skype. And also Dr. Warimo Bosire from the Mbagathi Hospital. She's a gynecologist, but for today's purposes, she also has a few things to say about nutrition. Those are my three guests today, and we kick off the discussion now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
To start with, what did you think of Mike's cooking? There are a lot of mics out there.
I know there are a lot of mics, but what I will say is this is an interesting thing. And I will say that each situation, people should take it positively. We have challenges, yes, but it comes with its own benefits as well as other challenges. Before, as you've seen with Mike, he was taking so much of fast foods, which are not even healthy, but now he's learning to do it the right way. So even for those people who are outside there, they should take the advantage of the quarantine and learn new skills in terms of cooking, because it is in cooking whereby you are able to manage even more of the healthy diets as opposed to the other foods you buy outside there. When you're cooking, at least you are sure of the ingredients you've used and you are sure of what you're taking.
Thank you. We'll have more of that from you. Good morning, Dr. Bosire, if you can hear me. Welcome to Your World.
Morning. Thanks for having me on the show. I think it's just as she has said, it's time that we are going back to basics, moving away from eating away from home. And now we are forced to eat at home because of the minimal movement. And it's just taking us back to realizing that cooking is not a privilege. Cooking is a basic skill that we all need to learn. And that way it helps us to define our diet and helps us to control what we actually choose to consume.
Is this a good thing that more people are cooking for themselves at home?
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime that anybody is being encouraged to improve on their health, the first thing is always about what are your food choices. And you realize that when you're not in your own kitchen, you're not able to determine what goes on your plate. So the easiest way to do that is then to be able to go back and do it yourself. That helps you to be able to, one, get to decide what do I like, then how do I prepare it, and you can play around with what you've got to always create something that works for your palate and doesn't necessarily have to conform to everybody else. That definitely goes a long way in encouraging people to eat exactly what they like.
And Irene, good morning to you. Welcome to Your World. What have you been cooking?
Good morning. I would say myself being in the kitchen is a therapy. So I try out different recipes, as in technically to match my plate. And I like the idea of Mike getting burnt, because when we are doing the community reach outs and we are training people on how to balance their plates, you'll get men complaining that the food that's being made in the house is not sweet. But most people will tell you that there's nothing nutritious that is sweet. At times you'll have to get something nutritious that does not even go well to your guts. So yeah, it's a good thing he's trying out to learn how to cook, and it's encouraging. And I hope next time he'll not just make the chips takeaway. He'll be able, when we get back to norms, he'll be able to continue with the same skill of cooking.
Now, you're a community nutritionist. What exactly is a community nutritionist?
I would start saying a community nutritionist is someone that addresses the basic nutrition concept from the ground roots at household levels. In nutrition, we have different components, different approaches. It can be community, whereby we have like the team I work with from the household level. We go to individual homes. We take the nutrition concept where we start by learning even the hygiene practices from the household level before we get even to nutrition. And this is the system that gets patients referred to different facilities, because we have the early tracing of maybe things like malnutrition, underlying causes of diseases, because we're able to talk to individual patients from the household, especially where we have a doctor managing a clinical disease, like let's say diabetes. If we have a diabetic patient in the hospital and the doctor really wants to find out how the household setup is, we have different teams. And among the teammates is a community nutritionist who goes in hand to identify if we have any nutrition conditions and the underlying issues in the household.
Okay, and Dr. Busire, by your daytime job is actually as a gynecologist, but you are also involved in nutrition conversations. What's the link? What's the connection?
Well, with just as it.
If you can hear me, I'm saying you're a gynecologist by profession, but what is the link with nutrition?
Well, let's just say that we are the ones who take care of nutrition from the womb even before the baby is born. And while we are doing that, then we have to start from an aspect where you're thinking about this baby, not just in terms of how much of nutrients, what we call the macronutrients that they're getting, but we're also looking at them from, are they actually getting the basic micronutrients that are required in very small quantities but can be very easily missed. And the mother too who's carrying the baby has to themselves take care of themselves, because what we know in pregnancy is that the baby generally makes a very good parasite. The baby is going to eat, the baby is going to take from mom whether the mom has enough to eat or not, and normally it's not the mother, it's not the baby who's going to suffer, it's the mother who's going to suffer first. And so when you start by creating a healthy individual before they're born, then you're able to translate this to the child that's born, and then as we are handing over to the pediatricians, this person can try and grow up into a much healthier human being than if they were not given a solid foundation. So the conversation around nutrition will always be taken care of. And the mothers, remember, as they're going through breastfeeding, we're still taking care of them to ensure that they're able to feed well, so that they can be able to feed the baby and not compromise themselves in this process. So it's a continuum. There's nowhere where you drop the ball. It's from the womb all the way to old age. And just as our nutritionist has told us that they are probably the people who play the biggest role, because you can say it in the office, but she's able to observe at home and ensure that what you're saying is actually being put to practice.
Okay, and here in the studio, Jane, let's start from the basics. When we say a good nutrition or good nutrition habits, what do we actually mean?
Okay, when you're talking of good nutrition, we have to look at a balanced diet. If you can remember, a long time we used to have home science in primary schools, and we used to be told about a balanced diet from class 6. And it's just the basic in terms of what the body requires in order to be healthy. So in terms of balanced diet, we are looking at different nutrients, whereby we have both the macronutrients and micronutrients. And they have all to be taken in order for a person to be entitled as healthy. So when we are talking of the macronutrients, we have the carbohydrates, we have the proteins, we have fats, and we have the micronutrients, which will involve the vitamins and minerals. Not also forgetting water, because yes, water might not be a nutrient, but it's very key. How much water you take by the end of the day matters a lot. And if I can go ahead and just describe each so that everyone can know, am I taking every nutrient the body requires at the end of the day? We are talking of carbohydrates. What are the composition of carbohydrates which we have at home? We are looking at common things like ugali. We are looking at bread. Traditional foods like ndoma, like sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes. All those will give you the carbohydrates you require. In terms of proteins, we have two different types of proteins. We have both the plant proteins and we have the animal proteins. Most people tend to feel that animal proteins are not healthy, but when you compile them well, then you are able to get good nutrition. In terms of the plant proteins, we are looking at legumes, things like beans, dengus, and lentils. And in terms of the animal proteins, we have subdivided them into two. We have what we call the red meat and white meat. White meat is what we encourage most people to take in large amounts as opposed to the red meat. Red meat, at least we encourage people to have them at least 3 times in a week, not just every day. And when we are talking of 3 times a week, again, we also need to look at the amount you're taking, the portion you're serving yourself. It matters again a lot. In terms of the vitamins and minerals, you'll get basically from our vegetables and our fruits.
Now, let me come to you, Dr. Bosire. Now, we're having this conversation because we are in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. And we're talking about immunity. What kind of emphasis do you put on diet and nutrition in terms of building people's immunity, especially in the times that we're in at the moment?
You know that nutrition is actually the cornerstone of a good immune system, and it's not something that you're gonna wake up and just come up with overnight. You work at it. It should be a lifelong aspiration that, look, we're eating right because we're boosting the immune system. At this point, we're sitting here and we're all faced with the pandemic, and what we know for a fact is that those who are able to handle it the best are those whose immune systems are probably at their strongest. And we know that the fight against illness is chiefly driven by what we call antibodies. And antibodies are basically made of protein. So it's very important that our nutritional needs, we have adequate protein quantities, because that is what we are going to use to actually make the antibodies that fight illness. However, in addition, we've talked about micronutrients. These proteins will not work in isolation. We have a lot of micronutrients that are used as, so what do you call it, like the bridges to ensure that these antibodies work at their best. And so the vitamin consumption that we talk about then becomes very critical. And these vitamins might not be needed in very large volumes, but they consistently need to be in the body. Some of them are not able to be stored for a long time. Things like folic acid, which are responsible for helping us even in making of our red blood cells. Because if you don't have enough red blood cells, your body is not getting enough oxygen, your cells are not functioning at their best. And the moment they're under attack, then obviously, however much your antibodies will try to help you, there's only so much that they can be able to deal with. And when we're talking about nutrition, we always imagine that the malnourished person is the skinny child with popping eyes and drooping skin and all that. But we also have a category of very malnourished people who are now obese. That your body is the body mass index is too high, and this already compromises you, and this makes you even more unwell, or your body is less likely to tolerate illness better. Particularly, for instance, we know that people who are asthmatic are at a higher risk when they are getting COVID-19. But we also know that obesity does make asthma worse. So this is the person you're looking at and say, how are we making food choices that are going to help relieve the excessive weight and therefore relieve my risk factor in terms of response to illness. So overall, as we're staying in and we're eating healthy, we're working out, we're trying to keep moving, drinking a lot of water, this then goes a long way in promoting our bodies to be able to respond as best as they can when it has to go to war with this virus.
Thank you, Dr. Bosire. We'll come back to people living with the various conditions and what kind of nutrition you might advise for them. But first, we try to cater for all groups of people on this show. And with the help of Eva Naputuni, a special needs children advocate, here are some nutrition tips for children with special needs.
Nutrition is very important. It's very, very important. And right now, of course, there will be we won't be able to get stuff that we need. And when we talk about children with special needs, I will talk about, for now, children with cerebral palsy, a very special group of children who have issues with motor coordination. We also have to remember that a lot of our children with cerebral palsy are really not mobile. So what are we doing in regards to ensuring that what they're getting is the correct meal? How do we boost their immunity? Because they are also very vulnerable when it comes to the coronavirus. Yeah? So one of the things that I'll really urge parents at this point, especially for my children with cerebral palsy, is let's make sure that the foods that we're giving them have very high calories. They are taking banana, avocado, coconut oil, coconut milk. The food has a lot of calories. Let's avoid processed foods. Let's avoid junk food. Let's avoid food that, is not really giving them any nutritional value, like fried foods. Let's ensure, because of their constipation, that they're taking a lot of vegetables. Yeah, they're taking a lot of fruits. They're taking a lot of water. Yeah, the children are not mobile. So because of lack of movement and physical activities, let's not give them too much carbohydrates, because what's going to happen is that they will end up just growing big and fat. And we want them to be able to manage what they're taking in. Yeah? So I know you are asking, what foods should we avoid? What foods should we give them? We can give them, potato is not too bad, but please make sure that it has a lot of vegetables. I know some of you are saying, but my child does not chew, and the therapist said that we have to ensure that the child chews. That is good, very good advice, but let me ask you, mom and dad, right now, is that what we are going to struggle with, or do we want to ensure that the child has eaten well? So it is okay to puree the food for the child right now.
To get more help with your child, go to Facebook, search for Acorn Special Needs, and you can listen to the full detailed video on the best nutrition practices for children with special needs. Now, Jenny, you were listening to that in terms of needs, special needs for children with special needs. Any thoughts on that?
Apart from even talking about people on special needs, we also need to think about people with pre-existing diseases. What are they doing at this particular time? What challenges are they facing? And my advice to them is they have already diets which have been prescribed to them. I would encourage them to continue following the diets. And remember that those people with pre-existing diseases are already at risk. Their immune system is already affected. How are they doing to boost their immune system? On top of whatever diets we have given them, we are encouraging them to take foods which are boosting their immune system. We are looking at them taking more of the fruits and vegetables which are rich with antioxidants. They have vitamins, especially vitamins which will boost their immunities. So that is what I am encouraging them at least to take a lot.
Now, Irene, I know you've also been spending a bit of time in South Sudan and, addressing malnutrition issues. What were the challenges there, maybe especially working with children?
Your area of operation, I'll start by saying so.
You're
Marasmic. Back here in Nairobi, people are fighting malnutrition on overweight children. So when you talk about malnutrition, we don't just focus on children who are like, say, the way people will say, very thin or tiny. Malnutrition is either over or under. So if I take reference to the cases in South Sudan, you'll find most of the cases we are addressing there are under, as compared when you come back to Nairobi home, where you have to fight over malnutrition. And we have different causes of malnutrition which might project themselves, especially during these times of COVID-19, whereby you'll find cases as causes like limited food access, where at the moment not everybody is able to get the foods they have been taking before. Some of us have to limit what we have been eating at home. Others have to do away with a specific meal. And in the aid of all this pandemic, we need to look at how are we going to address the issue of malnutrition from the community level so that it does not escalate. And then after COVID, we are fighting cases of malnutrition, how to get back people to their normal health. And that's why I started by saying it all begins in the community level, in the household level, on what we have been doing. Because if you're going to be addressing the issue of immunity, most of the people right now are running up and down. Oh, sorry, I need to know, where do I get the vitamin C supplements? Where do I get iron supplements and all that? Something that has to be a lifestyle, as Dr. Bosire says. We have to create a lifestyle of nutrition positivity. And I would begin by saying, when you look at it most of the times, even when you're talking to somebody on nutrition matters, everybody will tell you, I've been eating. And to them, it's all about food. But there's more to nutrition than food. When you talk about nutrition, we put so many aspects in it, even when we are counseling at household level. We do assessments because your body and my body might be totally different. Whatever my body might be needing now, the nutrients it wants, might be totally different. But we look at, even in social media, people are giving advice right, left, and center, like, okay, I'll take a case of a pregnant woman who is not able to ingest a particular thing to their system. And somebody will say, no, you have to take it by fire, by force. It has to be ingested. But you will realize there are mothers who will not be able to ingest the supplements given. But
Irene, we're losing you there. Your line is breaking up. I'll come back to you in a moment. Let me, an interesting point that you made, and I want to turn to you, Dr. Bosire. It has taken COVID-19 to force us all into, oh gosh, what should I be drinking? What should I be eating? What are you having? What should I be having? There's almost a panic in terms of people trying to address deficit of nutrition. What's your experience?
Well, like any other chronic illness that comes in, you find that people, of course, are looking at how do I stay alive. It's a very self-preserving response that we all have when we are faced with imminent danger. And so because everyone's being told that, look, there is no cure for this illness and your immunity has to fight it. And so this is driving a lot of sometimes almost bordering on irrational reactions. However, on average, most people would definitely still have been eating a balanced diet, and they really don't need to make adjustments to what they're eating. There is a lot of hype on supplements. There is a lot of hype on use of, Ayurvedic things and what have you. It's not something that you expect to have an overnight response to and say that, look, if you've been going around your life living unhealthy, that making an immediate change in the next 1 or 2 weeks is going to protect you. Good nutrition is a lifelong thing that you aspire to make it part of your lifestyle. And at this point, the people we are most concerned about, just like Jenny has told us, are people who are already having to be on prescribed diets because of various chronic illnesses that they may be having. And probably the challenge they may even experience right now would be access. Remember, what's happening in the hospitals now is we're scaling down on our chronic patients who regularly see us from coming as regularly. So that means that we don't get to have an opportunity to assess them as keenly as we would, as frequently as we would, and to keep reinforcing the tenets of their care. So it means that these are now the patients we're looking out to and saying, look, you're diabetic, this, you know how you should eat. The challenges then we may have is, are we able to access food that is appropriate for this person as easily as before? And that therein would be where we're saying, especially for those who are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds right now, we need to have a way to socially cushion them so that they are not having worse medical outcomes just because they were not able to eat right, for instance. But we keep saying, look, keep it as fresh as you can. How fresh is the food you're eating? How less processed is it? And I think that already forms the cornerstone for eating right. And then on average, we say, look, if you're an average adult who's not ill, who's not pregnant, you need just about 1,800 calories a day. So we then are maybe moving less, working from home, not as active, and that means that eating beyond 1,800 calories is going to mean that by the time we're getting out of this, we're going to be having a lot of obese people walking around. But again, as we talk about the ones who now have, the challenge of how we're accessing food, if you're gonna feed someone, are you able to make that plate as healthy as possible? And so we have to rely on what are our healthy, more affordable options for eating. How much of legumes, for instance, can we avail if meat is not an option?
Thank you, Dr. Busiri. I'll put you on pause for a moment because I want to hear a little bit more about that when we come to the specifics and people's needs. But this Dalgona Coffee Challenge has been trending for the last few weeks. And so it's reported that people have been getting drunk or high for at least an entire day. Is this healthy? Now, Jane, you were watching that. A lot of coffee, a lot of sugar, a lot of milk. Is that good for us?
I would say first, when we are looking in terms of what we are eating, we have to look at balance. We have to look at frequency. We have to look at how much are you taking. I'm looking at the Dalgona coffee, which is something which has been going on in the social media, and everyone wants to try it. But you need to look at the contents of what you're taking. We are looking at too much coffee at a go. And when we are looking at coffee, it has a lot of caffeine. So it might not be even healthy, especially for people who are hypertensive. So for such kind of people, I will not encourage them to have it. Even for the healthy people, we are looking at calories in that cup of Dalgona. There's a lot of sugar in it. You are also using a lot of whole milk in it, which is very dense in calories. And if you're taking like 2 to 3 cups of it, you have to look at how much calories are you taking from that cup. it is too much. And again, remember that we have reduced amount of exercise by the end of the day. We are enclosed. We are living in the house. We are not exercising. We are not doing too much of the workout, so that calories are not being burnt out. They are being stored in the body. So at the end of the day, you will end up adding a lot of weight, which will put you into risk of other diseases. So as much as we are having a lot of peer pressure and a lot of things going on into the social media, we have to look at the contents of what we are taking.
Irene, I would like your comment as well. The Dalgona Coffee Challenge, would you recommend it?
I wouldn't. I'll start by saying nutrition is, we normally do it as individual package, whereby you realize some people can react very fast to something. Like when you talk about Dalgona, we're putting sugar, coffee, and this is something you're introducing to your system once, and you're not used to taking it, even though you're used to taking it, unless you're used to stimulating your body. And you realize that most of the people who are having this cup for the first time, it makes you feel like you're on another high level, like your brain function is interrupted with, and there's this feeling of being high, which tells you that in your body something is really happening so fast. And as the clinical nutritionist mentioned, you'll find for the hypertensive cases, it would throw you so fast to cases like you might even suffer a stroke. If, like, for example, it's not you are hypertensive and you do not even know it, it could trigger your high blood pressure levels. And even though you look at the comments of people who are sharing it, okay, I've tried it out, you might find on specific comments, somebody is saying, I took it, but now I need to get my high blood pressure medication on again. So it's something that we don't have to do it because people are doing it. You need to do something because your body can really sustain it.
Dr. Bosire, briefly, this concoction gets people on a high. For some people, a high is good, no?
Well, caffeine on a daily recommendation should be on average maybe just 200 milligrams. And when we look at such concentrated coffee drinks, you find that the caffeine level, taking it 2, 3, 4 times a day means that you have actually gone beyond the recommended daily requirement. But other than that, caffeine is also a stimulant, and we all adjust to it differently. So for somebody probably who's been taking coffee a lot, they may be able to tolerate this pretty easily and maybe not quite note an obvious impact on their health. But for a newbie who's not a coffee person just getting started, even 1 cup is just enough to literally get them high. And what does this mean? Of course, there's an impact on the system and how the body works. And just as we've had elevated blood pressure, there could be muscle tremors, heart rate is increased, and all these things that the body might not be able to handle because it's not used to having this at once. But away from the actual caffeine content in the drink, then of course we're talking about how much sugar is going into that, because a lot of coffee tastes good when it is accompanied. There is cream, there is milk, there is sugar, there is chocolate to it. And all these then becomes calorie laden. So to you, it looks like just 1 small cup, but probably the amount of calories you've consumed in 1 small cup could be what you would have consumed on a regular plate or a healthy meal on a full lunch, for instance. So thinking about it that way then makes you think about how you're organizing your calorie consumption for the day, and if just 3 cups could be tipping you over and you could be getting what you don't need.
Thank you, Dr. Bosire. Now let's go to a different kind of high. Wangari Kuria is a farmer on fire. She has a few tips on how you can be self-sufficient in food by growing a few things in a kitchen garden, perhaps up on your balcony, wherever you are. This is especially useful during this season of staying at home and restricted movements.
So it's time to turn that balcony into a garden. It's just old. We have containers, we buy our oil in wholesale. This was a molasses bucket and a gunia of our chicken food. So basically you can still plant in a gunia like this. You just need to double layer it, put another one on top, because if they are going to be staying in the sun, they might have a lot of wear and tear, and you don't want your project going down. The other idea is basket bucket. This bucket, I liked it, but then it cut. But the good thing with the basket bucket is that will be your drainage. You don't need to toboa new holes to be your drain. This we are going to plant here. and you just cover it up. So the grass on top is just to act as mulch. As you know, germination likes to be in the dark, and our containers will be outdoors. Here are some carrots that we are going to plant. These are carrot seeds. They're very small and shiny and so beautiful, but you just need a little, otherwise they'll crowd and they won't grow and become fat. I just also want to give you ideas. You might have these dry cereals with you. These are dried green peas, minji. When they dry, they look like this and they can be planted. Don't plant them when they are green. Wait until they are dry. Dry them in your windowsill for about a week and plant them so you can still make more minjis. Garlic. So take the garlic that you have, take 2 cloves out of the whole clove that you have, because that will just last you a week. So what will happen next week? You have to go out. So soak them in water and plant them after they've started to remove a shoot. Soak them in water. When you soak seeds, most seeds, even this one, after we put water, they will open up, they will crack open and start germinating, and then after that you can put them into the soil. Guys, I hope that you have learned something and you can start something today.
Well, for more tips on this, you can check out Wangari's YouTube channel, Farmer on Fire. Now, let me come to Dr. Bosire. You've all been emphasizing the importance of fresh foods. This is partly a solution.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am actually one of those who have a balcony garden, and I do try to grow a few things here and there. And it's fresh, and you can actually be able to keep it organic, which means you can cut down on how much fertilizer or chemicals that you actually need to put in your garden. And it goes a long way in motivating you to eat right, because if you work so hard to grow it, you're going to want to eat it for it to be useful to you. But we know that a lot of people will have small patches. We all grew up and wondered, why did our mothers always want to run a small garden? They knew what they were doing. We were able to pick our food fresh from the garden and be able to eat it. And the beauty about fresh foods is that we're really minimizing on how much of processed products that you end up consuming. And for the longest time we took it for granted, but as you know, with time you start to realize, oh, this is actually does taste nice. I want to use this a lot more often. This helps me to eat a lot healthier, and it also cuts costs, because you know, as we can tell, groceries have become very expensive over time, and yet in the past this was always the cheapest part of the budget. So it also encourages us to eat more plant-based foods and cut down on unnecessary red meats and keep the plate overall healthy.
Irene, food from the balcony, a good idea?
A wonderful idea, and I would say we don't, in the community level, especially in areas that are so arid. I would take example of Lodwar and maybe Kakuma. And most of what we encourage mothers to do, even now that there is no rains and all, would be kitchen gardens. That's what we fall back to in times when we need them to understand they can really have greens at their household level. So kitchen gardening is one of the best options we fall to, especially when we are promoting community nutrition, even in areas that we don't have water running throughout the year.
And to you, Jane, we've been carrying stories about you know, some of the foods that Nairobians eat grown in some appalling conditions. When you say fresh, it also needs to be clean and, you know, grown in a proper way.
Yes, and the idea of kitchen garden will be the best. And when you're doing the kitchen garden, you'll be able to control what you're doing. You'll be able to be sure of what you're taking. You'll not be worried of the chemicals or the sewage and all that, because I've come across many people who tell me, I'm not going to eat this, I am not going to eat that, because I am not sure where it has been grown. I am not sure of what additives they have added, and I'm not sure whether it is healthy for me. I'm not sure whether it is going to give me any food poisoning or it is going to give me any harm. So with the idea of kitchen garden, at least you take control of what you are eating. You take control of what you are growing, and you are sure. So that is one thing I'm encouraging even most of my patients at least to start doing.
Okay. Now, mother always tells you, do not play with your food. Well, Hawale decided to use TikTok to teach this guy a lesson. It was too quick for me. Now, Jane, the kind of foods that we want to talk about. Go back, if we went back a little bit. When you talk about fresh foods, what is it about fresh foods? It's not always when you walk around the market that you'll find stuff that's dried up. What's the importance in terms of nutrition of consuming food that is fresh, and how do you even know that it's fresh?
When we are talking about fresh foods, we are looking at the nutrient content at that food. There are some foods when they stay for a longer period, they tend to lose the nutritive value, especially our vegetables and fruits. They are more nutritive, they have more nutrients when they are taken fresh as opposed to when they have stayed for a longer period. My only worry is with the new additives people are adding into the vegetables, they are adding into the fruits. You might find that fruits have stayed for a longer period, but they have added some things, they've added some chemicals into them to just look fresh. And why they are doing this is because they know most people, when they are going into the market, what they are looking for are those foods which are fresh. And with the fresh foods, you are able to get adequate of the nutrients, and that is what we encourage most people to take.
Okay, now, Dr. Bosire, if I can come to you, moving the discussion forward a little bit, let's look at immunity, this whole issue of immunity. Why is it so important? Because with COVID-19, a lot of emphasis is being placed on the state of our immunity. Why is it so significant?
Well, like all other viral infections, we know that a lot of them do not have any drug that can actually destroy the virus. And the reason for this is really because the virus is not a complete cell. You just have a tiny particle of part of a chromosome, so it's either DNA or it's RNA, and the way it works is that it has to attach itself to your own natural cell and use your own DNA to multiply itself. Once it feels it has sufficiently multiplied, it has used your cell to its heart's content, it's going to burst the cell so that all these new particles formed can be released, and this is how it multiplies in the body and continues to spread. Now, because it's very difficult for you to have a drug that's able to eliminate this particle to begin with, and this happens because the particle keeps changing. It keeps altering its composition, and so if you had made a drug that was going to come and link with it in a certain way, by the time your drug comes and finds that the area for linkage has changed, then obviously it cannot even bind to it, it cannot work. So the only surefire way is now your own immune system waking up to the realization that there's a foreign particle in this body that should not be there. And generally, by what it does is that it tends to destroy the entire cell that is carrying the virus, so that everything, both the cell and the particles, die together. So it is very important that this process is fully driven by your own body. You don't get to decide how much antibody you're going to make, for instance, or how effective is it going to be. This is already coded in your DNA. So the things that then impact on this is how well are you supplying your body with what is required to make enough antibodies. And in as much as we think about it, we always take it for granted that we all have a strong enough immune system to do it. You actually see the impact of poor nutrition when you look at the people who are malnourished, or people who, for one reason or the other, they have an illness that is suppressing how well their immune system can work, or they have they're on medications that suppress their body from producing adequate numbers of antibodies. So the immune system then is so critical. It's always a first line for you trying to get rid of whatever is wrong in your body, whether it's infection, whether it is tumors. It's the main driver for getting you back to good health. So the immune system is then reliant on being able to function as best as it can, being as strong as it possibly can. And we always have to take into consideration that sometimes the immune system can go overboard. So some of the symptoms we see in illness are actually as a result of the immune system being so aggressive, trying to kill this viral particle and destroying so many of your cells as it goes along, just because it's really trying to, it's like having a machine gun. You know, you're shooting, you have a target, but a lot of other things get sprayed alongside. And this is really what will cause the fever, the joint pains, the weaknesses that you're having. It's not just the virus, but it's the body's response to the virus. It's how it's trying to help you by causing you, of course, a lot of grief in the process. Now, for this immune system to work, you have to have put in place systems to make it happen. Antibodies are not cells. They are manufactured from cells. So if those cells that make these antibodies themselves are inadequate, they're not properly healthy, or they are not well supported to carry this process of generating antibodies, we don't get to have enough antibodies.
So, Dr. Busiri,
and this is why the nutrition now comes in. How do you...
Dr. Busiri, your line is breaking up a little bit, but I will come back because we now need to go into the detail of how you actually go about building or strengthening or boosting your immune system. Now, we'd love to hear from you about what you're up to. How are you coping with your changing world, and what feedback do you have for us about this show, including questions or issues you'd like us to address? Let's now have a look at what you've been saying through our hashtag New Normal. The first comment is from Ochogo Fred, who says, together, hashtag New Normal, together indeed. And there's a comment also from, this one is from Sir George. You say that we did the meal beforehand and it's past that. We now need our family to eat well. Okay, thanks George for that. Bradford, you say, Tiza Nyumbani should not end after COVID-19. It should be a routine. Thank you very much indeed. We hope we can keep it going. Tiza Nyumbani is that bit of exercise segment that we have for you from 6:30 in the morning till 7. So we'll keep it going. And yeah, this is great. Alcohol is part of the food. Now this is, I'm sure, in response to Sonko's food and alcohol distribution. Thank you, Nyangara. Another comment here from Evans Onyango. You say that watching from this USA, Corona is real. Thank you for joining us. We also have another comment here. Tariq Alavi. Panelists are sharing very informative stuff. Amazed to get such stuff. Stay with us. There's still actually more to come. Thank you for that bit of feedback. Wanjiro, not alcohol. It's throat sanitizer. What are you saying? It's a throat sanitizer? Now remember, you can reach us via our WhatsApp number, which is beneath your screen at the moment. You can also reach us on hashtag New Normal, and you can also call us if you wish to. We also would receive your Skype calls if you have any comments, any feedback, any questions for our panelists, or indeed issues that you'd like us to address on this program. Now, let me give you a quick COVID update, but before that, a short break.
Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures, especially for us who major in shaking hands or even taking a high five. We have to find an alternative to doing this, and in fact the most effective way is doing this. Wash your hands constantly with soap and running water, because we are told the most effective way is to drown the germs as you wash your hands thoroughly.
Wherever you are, you can still stay updated daily. Get your favorite paper delivered to you. For home or office delivery, contact us on 0719 038 062 or email subscription@ke.nationmedia.com. Daily Nation, the truth.
mind-blowing music and entertainment. Just move to NTV.
So the young ones are at home, and well, we know how that can go. Don't worry, we've got you. NTV brings you loads of fun and exciting shows for them to watch, keeping them busy as well as making them learn. Tune in weekdays morning and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 7:30 a.m. for the best kids shows yet. Watch NTV live on TV or online on ntv.nation.co.ke or download the Nation app and get your kiddie fix across all these platforms. NTV, turning on your kiddies' world.
My name is Madiesco Keapu Uapio. It's easier just to call me Mr. What. I've spent 22 years in prison for a crime I did not commit. My biggest hope is that my father will find his way through the fog and confusion and take hold of the glorious truth that his son is indeed an innocent man. Mr. What?
Heaviness and a burning inside, it could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
And then say, here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. I and I start me crew, soldiers for Selassie, army. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. And they can do hell, in your foundation. When you all are look down on that secret, I hear a
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. 6, 7, 8.
The young ones are at home, and we know how that can go. Don't worry, we've got you.
A lesson will be learned.
-3 times -4.
They can have fun as they learn on NTV.
What does 0 mean? It's just a number that means nothing.
This is so much fun.
It's our secret.
NTV, turning on your world.
Just move to the next level with the Daily Nation. Every day, every Monday, Junior Sport will move you to the top of your class with KCPE revision papers. To move to a healthier, fitter, and more conscious you, read The Healthy Nation every Tuesday. My network will inspire your career, your passion, your biashara, and your network every Friday. Just move to the truth.
Now, let me give you a quick COVID-19 update across the East African region with help from the Daily Nation's Newsplex website, which is up to date with the latest numbers. In real-time updates, you can visit them at www.nation.co.ke/newsplex. Now, Kenya, first of all, There have been 9,630 people who've been tested thus far. 225 people have been confirmed positive. There have been 10 deaths in Kenya and 53 people have recovered. That's here back home in Kenya. Across the East African region, this is a situation that we have, starting with, beg your pardon, if I can go back onto that. So that was Kenya. Looking for the numbers for East Africa, right here. And I'll kick off with Tanzania. We have 53 people or cases that have so far been confirmed positive. 3 people have died in Tanzania and 7 have recovered. In Ethiopia, we have 85 people who've been tested, confirmed positive. There have been 3 deaths and those who've recovered, 15. In Somalia, confirmed cases, 60, 2 people have died, and there have also been 2 recoveries. Moving to South Sudan, 4 cases confirmed positive, no one so far reported to have died from coronavirus, and no one has recovered. Uganda, it's 55 people who've been confirmed positive, no deaths as yet reported, and 8 people have recovered. Situation in Rwanda is 134 people confirmed positive so far. Nobody has been reported dead, and those recovered, 49 people. Whereas in the neighboring country of Burundi, also in East Africa, the confirmed cases are 5. There's been 1 person who's died, and nobody has been reported to have recovered from COVID-19. So that's the situation across East Africa in our region. And moving on, we are joined now on the line all the way from India by Leon Lidigu, live from Rajasthan state. Good morning, or is it good afternoon where you are?
Good morning. It's 10:38 a.m. where I am right now.
How is, yeah, now I can see you clearly. How is the situation? What can you tell us about the situation in India generally, but also as it affects Kenyans out there?
Okay, generally so far there are 12,456 positive confirmed cases. Then we have 422 deaths and 1,513 recoveries as per government statistics this morning. So this shows remember in a country of 1.3 billion people, from where I see it as a valiant fight generally to just contain the situation at the moment. But now the problem we are having here majorly concerns the Kenyans who came to India for medical treatment and are stranded in Delhi, in Bangalore, and other parts of India. Some of them, and actually many of them, have depleted their funds they were using for treatment on medication, on physiotherapy, and certain like things. So they are actually very broke. They are suffering, they are in pain. They just are begging the government to help them return home. In fact, many of them, when the government said yesterday that it's not able to facilitate a plane, it cannot afford to facilitate a repatriation flight back home, many of them said they are willing to talk to Kenyans of goodwill. They are willing to talk to their families just to crowdsource and get funds because they lack basic needs like food, like water. Rent is too high. They're paying 2,300 rupees a day just to get a roof over their head. Yeah.
Now, Leon, we've been talking and reporting quite a bit about the plight of Kenyans in India who are still stranded there. Now, remind us why, in the first place, they were not able to come back home when other countries were evacuating their nationals.
Now, on 24th March, Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared a total lockdown with regards to fighting the coronavirus pandemic. And now this meant that some of these Kenyans who have been here on treatment and were on transit, in fact, some of them, the lockdown was put into effect when they're just at the airport about to board their flight. So which means the flights were cancelled, the airspaces were closed down, and now they were stranded in Delhi. They have no relatives, they have no one to talk to. And now the big problem comes with the Kenyan High Commission. The Kenyan High Commission has gone cold on them. The Kenyan High Commission told me, I spoke to the Honorable Winnie Bett, who's the Kenyan High Commissioner to India. He said that the government has no plans to repatriate anyone whatsoever because they are very cautious of escalating the situation back home. They don't want to transport anyone, then affect the public that is back at home. So these are the challenges that they're facing. But now, what do we do? Because the patients here, they've been on medication, they don't have food, they don't have anything. In fact, I was talking to a patient yesterday who sent me a photo of strong tea, a cup of strong tea, and they was telling me, what, this is what I have to survive on the whole day, which I found it very heartbreaking.
Okay, Leon, stay on the line for us from India. Let's hear about the plight of one more Kenyan, another Kenyan who's stuck in India.
I brought my wife for treatments, which got some complications. She was put in ICU, which was very expensive, and she passed away on 28th of March. Where we are keeping the body is very expensive per day, which is the bill is accumulating. Also for upkeep, COVID-19 prevented us to take the body to Male Kenya. We are actually asking our governments, Kenyan government, to come on our assistance to help us to evacuate us from this place because it's a problem. Even getting food now is a problem.
So, Leon, if you follow that, someone who with a really sad story of losing a family member and yet unable to, not allowed to repatriate the body. So things look pretty dire where you are. Are these people able to get any help from the Indian authorities?
The Indian authorities, in fact, it's more focused on providing for their own people. Remember also there are stranded Indians, the Indians who are locked down, those who from low-income households, they cannot be able to feed themselves. So I have observed NGOs are coming in to help, so they're actually taking care of themselves. Now, the Kenyan High Commission has done nothing so far, even providing a meal to these Kenyans who are stranded here. Even one of them was telling me, we've seen the Nigerian ambassador taking care of Nigerian patients and visiting them. But our ambassador has not stepped here. He has not even, we've only seen a phone call, 1 or 2 phone calls, but he has not even shown initiative. So they are wondering, are we children of a lesser God? And then on the death, right now we are having 4 Kenyans who have lost their lives. We have a mother and we have a Kenyan couple that have brought their 7-year-old son here for treatment. And now they are forced to cremate the body because, remember, the government said that Kenyans who die abroad should be buried there. So this is presenting also a challenge in terms of our cultural values as Africans, as people who belong to Kenya, because the man you just saw on the clip lost his wife a few days ago after treatment to a stroke. According to the doctors, the wife was actually recovering, and it was a stroke that made her lose her life. Now, this man is stranded. He does not have any money. He cannot even afford fees to preserve the body in a mortuary. And now the government is telling him that he is supposed to bury his wife in a foreign land where he has never lived. He just came here for medical reasons. So they're finding it very unfair. So they're actually begging that if they source their own flight tickets and pay, is the government willing to get them a flight back home? That is their question.
And now, Leon, how are people generally coping, especially the Kenyan community? It's a dire situation. How are they coping?
It's challenging to say because a total lockdown means all the functioning components of a government are on shutdown. There is no banking system, there are no roads, police roadblocks everywhere. We are only given 3 hours, that is from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. to be able to shop and to restock. Then we are locked back in our houses the entire day. Only essential service providers are allowed out. These are doctors, nurses, journalists like myself with the press cards. We are allowed to move around because of the nature of our work. But then these sick Kenyan patients cannot get food because the time is very limited. They cannot go out there. Remember, we are not eating the same diet as Indians are eating with regards to the chili and all those things, So they are really suffering because sometimes you can yes, but getting the supplies is now another issue. So that's why they're feeling it's very important that their lives depend on this, because they're on medication they cannot feed. So they're just begging the government to kindly come through for them and enable them to go home. And you know, this makes me wonder, as journalists following up on this, what if it was, let's say, a group of politicians who had come to benchmark in India, then they are caught up in such a lockdown? I'm sure the government would not even think twice about repatriating them back home. So the question they're asking is, are they children of a lesser God?
And indeed, it's a dire situation, Leon. Have you had any contact with the High Commissioner, the Kenyan High Commissioner? And what is their response?
Yes.
Because this thing could go on for a long time.
Yes, I interviewed the Kenyan High Commissioner to India, that is Honorable Willie Best, about 3 days ago for a piece I was doing for the Daily Nation. Now, the ambassador told me that there is no plan whatsoever. In fact, he repeated it so for 4 times. There is no plan whatsoever to facilitate anything. They do not have a budget as a mission abroad to take care of these people. And we had also challenges whereby we had some of them were calling at the embassy and they were being turned away because most of the staff is working from home. So there was a communication problem, but the ambassador fixed that problem by making 2 Kenyan embassy staff available at the embassy to be able to listen to their complaints. So we asked, where else should we go if we cannot access service from our embassies from out here? What is next for us?
So Leon, when they're given an answer with such finality that, you know, sorry, we can't help you, what are these Kenyans thinking about their own Kenyan government?
They are so frustrated. In fact, those sentiments really hurt them. That ndege sio matatu. When the ambassador Kamau said that yesterday, you know, it really hurt them, because just remember a few months ago, last year, we were busy running around with the shuttle diplomacy, drumming out for an African Union seat, you know, and we had the money. But when it comes to bailing out Kenyans, innocent Kenyans who have been failed by a healthcare system that has not been able to treat them, and they are seeking refuge in a healthcare system in another country, and we are telling them that we cannot bail them out, we cannot let them come home. It is very sad, it is very unfortunate, sir.
And is there any special consideration for vulnerable people or perhaps the elderly? We know that there is a couple who are in their 80s who are stuck there, being looked after by their daughter.
Yes.
Any considerations for such people?
I spoke to that couple. Yes, I spoke to that couple last night. No one has reached out to them. We also have government employees, government officials who are even stuck in Delhi right now. They are just having the same challenges as everyone else. No one is reaching out to them whatsoever. We have also a politician, a very prominent politician in Kenya who's caught up. No, you know, they try talking to the ambassador, but the situation is the same across the board. The government has simply refused to listen to them. It has simply refused to help them. And their source of hope at the moment is a lady who actually brought the group together. Her name is Madam Jacinta Hedron. And Madam Jacinta Hedron has been giving, you know, she's the only person I've come to realize that they are really relying upon to get by, to call. She started a WhatsApp group. She's really championing for them. She's encouraging them to stay strong, trying to remind them that the government will come through, which they are hoping and praying it will.
Okay, and Leon, very briefly, so you've got people, Kenyans, who are stuck there. They're running out of money. There is no telling how long this situation will go on for. India is under lockdown. The Indian authorities cannot help them. Is there any other God that can come to the help of these people, or other Samaritans, good Samaritans?
Yeah, now, in India being on lockdown does not mean that the government of Kenya cannot come. Last week we had the United Kingdom come for their citizens in Goa. We've had South Africa come for their citizens. We've had Britain come for their citizens. So India itself is also evacuating its citizens from other countries. and patients and all those people who are stuck and stranded. So it's just a matter of making an official request to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and I'm sure he will understand because he has been letting in people and opening up airspaces upon special requests from government. So I can assure you that if President Uhuru Kenyatta picks up a phone and calls him and requests for a Kenyan flight to land in Delhi and to pick them up, it will be done. It's just that we are not seeing any goodwill from government. So far, yesterday when I posted on social media, I have seen there's an Indian man who actually reached out to me personally and said that he feels so bad, he feels that no human being should actually take a day without food. So he asked me to call him today and the group leader so that we can see how he can donate just a few foodstuffs to keep them by as they wait for the government to chip in. So that is the only good Samaritan that we have actually encountered so far.
Okay, Leon Lidigu, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Rajasthan State in India, and stay safe. Now, we come back to something a little bit different here in the studio. I've still got my guests, Jane, who's been listening keenly to events in India, and we also have Irene, who's on Skype. But maybe just before we move on, let's see some of your comments on what you've been saying to us in using our hashtag New Normal. We did the meal beforehand. This is George who says, we did a meal beforehand and it passed that. We now need our family to eat well. That's a comment from Sir George on our hashtag New Normal. And one here from Nea, you say, I'm Nea, please ask the panelists, I suppose I have 200 bob. How can I balance it in such a way that by the end of the day, I have food that is balanced in terms of a diet? That's a really good challenge for my panelists. With a budget of only 200 shillings, I'll come back to you to answer that. Actually, let's pick it up there briefly, Jane. So on 200 shillings, what can you do to ensure that you and perhaps your family have a balanced diet, a meal?
Thank you for that. I know when you look at most of our Kenyans, that is the much they have for the day. And at the end of the day, we are looking at good nutrition. We are looking at balanced diet. And maybe they are asking themselves, what is it that I can get with that 200 bob? And I'll tell them that you do not have to go for expensive things. We still have products which are cheap, which you can buy, and at the end of the day, make it. In terms of...
if you break it down into how many nyanyas do you get out of this, what can you do with 200 bob to make sure you have a balanced diet?
We are looking at something like ugali. You can do ugali. And the best way to do your ugali will be to buy the maize. Go to the posho mill and have it milled.
That's a bit cheaper, obviously.
That will be a better option. In terms of nyanya, then you buy in small, you don't have to buy in bulk, you buy one at a time. Then in terms of the greens, you go for the traditional foods, traditional kienyeji, which are sold at the market. At least they are available and they are cheaper. And when you look at that and you look at something like a protein, you do not have to go for meats. You go for the legumes, things like dengu, things like maragwe, things like even eggs. Then you are able to make a well-balanced meal, because when you look at ugali, which will give you carbohydrates, your eggs will give you proteins, and your skuma or your terere will give you the vegetables. Then in terms of the fruits, we always encourage you to buy the ones which are on season, because they are available and they will be cheaper. So by doing that, at least you'll be able to make a whole day. And for breakfast, you do not have to go for things like bread, which are expensive. Go for things like sweet potato. You can go for something like porridge. You just buy wimpy, go to the posho mill, and you have it milled.
Would you survive on 200 bob and have a good, nutritious meal?
Yes,
yourself?
Definitely you will.
Okay, yes. Right. Irene, if you're listening to us, 200 bob, that's a 200 bob challenge. We've had one option here. Irene, 200 bob, that's a challenge for you. What can we do with 200 bob? We have just taken ugali, a bit of greens, actually a bit of dengu, and maybe eggs. Other how do you break it down? Other options from you, Irene? And Dr. Bosiri, I know you're listening. I'll come back to you in a minute.
Let me talk.
Sorry, you're breaking. Try one more time. Yeah. Irene, go again.
I'm going to take, for example, I'll talk from a person who is maybe in the village and is getting complicated and was wondering, what am I going to eat? And I would start by breaking what we normally call the mentality in the village that if I don't eat bread in the morning, I'm not matching those in Nairobi. Actually, we're eating bad ourselves in Nairobi. We're just coping with what we can have. So if you're at home and you have your 200 shillings, in the morning, it's possible for you to be able to boil some sweet potatoes, which means you've not used a lot. Maybe sweet potatoes at home, when we call out for them, you'll get like 3 of them. They're selling at 50 bob. Then for your lunch, maybe you can have beans. You boil beans, then you buy maybe a tomato that is going to go maybe for 10 bob because you're at home, or you can even get to that, and onions. And these beans can either be used, maybe you can decide lunch or you're going to take with rice, and then in the evening you're going to take with ugali, which means the whole day you just have occupied your 200 shillings without having to go beyond what you can afford.
Okay, but Irene, there are people who say rice is not food. There are communities that believe rice is not food. It does not do anything serious with your state of hunger.
Rice is not food depending on how you make it, because what is food? Let's start by understanding what is food. Because most of us, I'm sorry to say, we are consuming food to get food, not to get the nutrients from the food. And most of us in the African setup think the moment you eat that big plate with raisins is when you're going to be nutritionally comfortable. But technically what is absorbed in the body is very limited. You'll find the rest of it, you're going to take it off as stool, as waste. So what are we looking at when we are talking about eating and we are saying rice is not food? Because it also cuts down to portions. What does the body really need to keep you going? How much amount of the energy do you need? Like Dr. Bosile stated, for a normal human being, you might find out you need just 2,100 calories in a day to keep you going. But most of us think that, okay, this food is kidogo, I'm not going to meet my requirements, which is wrong.
Okay, Dr. Bosire, the 200 bob challenge, what can you do? Can you address this person who lives in a one-roomed little cubicle and has got very little money but wants to stay and eat healthy?
Well, we all know our favorite, the dairy and avocado, that has been very much talked about on social media. But yes, we do have affordable and available options. We have things like matoke that is indigenous to us, though we don't eat it as much. And you can have matoke whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I agree that yes, there is nowhere where the rules state that breakfast must be tea and sausage and bread, or lunch must be this or that, or dinner must be ugali. A lot of us even have that ugali at breakfast, and that's just fine because it starts your day on a high. You know you're going to have a long day. You don't have another time to eat a decent meal, and there's no way it's cast in stone what defines your breakfast or your lunch. Eat what you like to eat. I like githeri for breakfast, for instance, and I think it's perfectly fine. It's affordable, and you can have that with a cup of tea, and your day is made. And you can have your matoke for lunch. We have things like groundnut. We are very, I think the problem with us Kenyans is that regionally we have very varied cuisines that we always make them look like they only belong to certain people. But within our own 50 cultures, if we were able to marry what we eat across board, 200 shillings a day would go a long, long way. We have fruits that are affordable. Melons, for instance, just a 20 shilling slice is enough for 3 babies in the house. Or bananas, for instance, ripe bananas that give us a ton of potassium and vitamins, and all this is still acceptable. We have our avocado, which we can eat as a fruit, and we put in literally all of our foods just to make them taste better. And it's you know, all this creativity around what we have affordably is just the mentality that we probably need to bring home, so that food isn't always cast in stone in a manner that then makes it out of reach. A lot of people want to have meat for dinner and eat the whole half kilo in one sitting, yet you could spread this across 3 or 4 meals, but you're also mixing with other foods that leave you feeling full, make you feel happy that yes, you ate beef, but you didn't necessarily have to eat a huge portion of it for you to get sufficient nutrients, because you just need about 80 grams of beef per day anyway. So what are you doing with the other 420 grams? You could spread them over the rest of the meals.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bosire. Now, a little later in the program, I am going to give you a challenge right now to think about. Irene, I'll ask you to design a planned meal for us. You're responsible for our breakfast. We live in the village. We haven't got too much money. So please sort us out with a really good, healthy breakfast. We haven't got a lot of money. For you, Dr. Bosire, you'll take care of our lunch. So please design a meal so that at the end of the day, we've got a three-meal day. And then finally, Jane, talk to us about dinner. Not every Kenyan has 3 meals. Maybe people live with just 1 meal a day. But today, we've got a little bit of extra cash. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'll come back to you and see what you've come up with. But first, apart from food, let's look at what else we also consume or take. Now, I've got a comment here which has just come in from David Nyangara. You said, this is great. Alcohol is part of the food. Wow. Okay. And then Wanjiro says, no, alcohol is a throat sanitizer. Okay, so alcohol is clearly part of the diet for a lot of people. I want to bring that onto you guys, and maybe starting with you, Jane. What are your thoughts about alcohol and alcohol consumption as part of our diet or part of our nutrition? First of all, is there a place for alcohol in our diet?
I'd say that when we talk of alcohol, we term it as a zero nutritive value. It will not give you any nutrition, but it will give you a bit of calories, because when we are looking into alcohol, 1 gram of alcohol will give you 4 calories. But in terms of nutrients, it's not helpful. So we do not encourage people
even the buza that we take in the village is not.
Yes, any alcohol a gram of alcohol will give you 4 calories. But at the end of the day, it does not give you any nutrition. That is what I'll say. And what I will tell people is, if you're not taking alcohol, I will not encourage you to start taking alcohol. Okay? And we also have...
Why is that?
Because in terms of nutrition, there's nothing you're getting from it. It is doing more harm into your body more than the good. Okay. There are certain categories of groups that we do not also encourage them to have alcohol, especially if you are already having a pre-existing condition and you are on medication. We are looking at people under the age of 21 years of age. We do not encourage them to have alcohol. Pregnant women, we will not have them take alcohol because it will have more harm into the unborn babies. But for those who are already taking alcohol and they are healthy, then we also have what we call a standard drink. How much can you have in a day? So when we talk of a standard drink in terms of beer, we'll term it as one beer, that is the 350 ml. In terms of the hard drinks like the gin and vodka and all that, we are talking of a double tot.
Now, this is important because earlier on in the week, we got into trouble when we mentioned 2 units of alcohol. And we had all sorts of questions. Do you mean 2 bars? Do you mean 2 mzingas? So just break it down slowly.
That's why we are saying in terms of beer, the categories of beer, it is 350 mils so as one standard alcohol portion. In terms
for a man or woman, is that like a bottle of beer? Just a normal?
Yes, a bottle of beer.
Okay, 1 or 2?
For the men, we allow 2. For the women, we allow only 1 standard portion of alcohol. Okay. And when we are talking of the standard alcohol, I was breaking it down. In terms of beer, it is 1 bottle, which is 350. In terms of wine, it is 150 bottle, not bottle, but glass. So it is the original glass wine, which is almost 150
Not the
mils.
kind of World Cup mugs that...
No. And in terms of the hard drinks, now we are talking of the tots, which is 2 tots. So for the men, we allow up to 2 standard portions of alcohol
per day.
And for the women, we allow up to only 1 portion of of alcohol in a day. But that does not give you, again, the freedom to have the alcohol every day. It's always good to have a day-free alcohol days.
Dr. Busire, just briefly to you, there are people who will struggle with this, with these limitations of 2 units and 2 beer bottles a day. Some Kenyans will find that that is very restricting. These are people who sit down and can demolish a whole crate over an evening. What are the dangers?
Well, with alcohol, we always say people drink for really 2 reasons. One, it's social drinking because it's something that's been inculcated into us that when you're spending time together that this is something you get to do. And 2 is people who are actually addicted to the alcohol and it is their solution to boredom, to maybe just to maybe take away stress and things like that. And so when you're talking about feeling restricted, then it is really driven by the reasons why people drink. On average, as we have had, alcohol doesn't really count for nutritive value. So consumption of alcohol isn't something that should be looked at as something somebody needs to do every day. So we talk about the units, as she has described, as being an average, that if you're going to have a drink every day, this really is within safe zone. And what safe zone means is that it doesn't impact your body, that your liver can easily eliminate it from your system without it necessarily having had an impact on the rest of your organs. And then when you take this beyond, remember we're all very different. We carry different body mass indexes. Genetics also play a role. And there are people who just making a habit of drinking 2 drinks a day could actually result in alcoholism. And there is somebody who is your routine social drinker who will have a bottle at the end of the week. And the rest of the day, he's not bothered by, even thinking about needing to drink. However, you don't know which body type you are, you don't know what genetics you carry, and you have no idea what risk you put yourself in when you choose to start to pick it up and make it something you do all the time. But chiefly, alcohol's biggest issue is, of course, other than affecting your conscious levels, of course, we know about road accidents and all the things that will result from impaired capacity, but there's also the long-term quiet impact that people don't know, the damage to the liver. Alcohol is broken down in the liver. For you to break it down into harmless products that can be excreted, then your liver has to use up its enzyme systems to make this work. Over time, you're overworking them. There is going to be response to that. There is liver cells getting inflamed. There is chronic inflammation that takes place, and this is how we end up with chronic liver failure. Okay. But we also have what most people don't think about, and this is called acute pancreatitis that happens commonly very suddenly, and as a result of very high level drinking. Will commonly happen in people who've been drinking for a while, and then this one night they binge drink and things just head south. The pancreas is responsible for releasing digestive enzymes, and so when pancreatitis happens is that there's a sudden inflammation in the pancreas, and these hormones are no longer contained where they should be, and they spill out into the body and literally digest anything in sight. Okay. So your pancreas starts to digest itself, and that's probably one of the most painful and life-threatening things that can happen. Okay, Dr. Busire, thank you very much. We'll be right back now. There have been all sorts of messages and jokes about how we look after weeks of being locked in or indoors or keeping safe at home. Well, here's what could happen if you ignore good nutrition.
Okay, that's better. Welcome everybody to the snacks are best saved for later.
And it's time now for a short break.
Akili, 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 akili.
We love to wash our hands, and this is how we do it. Wash, wash with clean water. Scrub, scrub, scrub with soap. Rinse, rinse with clean water, and then the germs will go. We love to wash our hands, and this is how we do it. Wash, wash with clean water. Scrub, scrub, scrub with soap. Rinse, rinse with clean water, and then the germs will go. Yay!
Well done, soap and water. You got rid of all the germs on Achilles' hands.
And them say, here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome.
Reading accurately and fluently.
Sometimes you will say a word, but it doesn't come to me as you said it.
Can even read a word that is not there.
Dyslexia is about reading things backwards. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
There is a connection between dyslexia and mental illness. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
It is more common in boys than it is in girls. Fact or fiction?
Apparently, yes.
One can live a perfectly normal life with treatment, but this condition can't be cured.
Now, did you know that the heart is the hardest working muscle in your body? Heartbeat, 1 minute, 70 times. One beat pumps 60 to 90 milliliters of blood out of the heart. 1 minute, 5 liters of blood. One day beats 100,000 times, pumping almost 7,600 liters of blood. Okay, time for some of your comments. You've been reaching us on our hashtag New Normal, and here's some of what you've been saying to us. There's a comment here from Ronnie Karen. Yani, this thing was serious. Well, it is serious, Ronnie. Thank you very much indeed. And there's Davy Carlos who says, this is drug abuse, nothing short. I'm thinking, referring to alcohol, yeah. And is there one more comment from, this one is from Liz Moore. Just don't know why they'll be overcharging foodstuffs, so, worrying about the cost of food as well. And we have a comment from Rehema Miriam. Thank you very much for the nice and educative info on the show. Thank you very much indeed for staying tuned, Rehema. But you're saying, let's stay at home. Better keep safe at home. Thank you for that. And we have another one here from Nyangara again. It can't be healthy. No alcohol in coffee. Thus, people are getting high from caffeine, and high levels of caffeine, nicotine in the human body is dangerous, as our experts have just pointed out. And maybe there's another one here. James Mukuyuni, you say, good morning, breakfast following steadily from Kimilili in Bungoma. Thank you, James, for joining us all the way from Western for your world. Now, let's take a little departure from your world to the rest of the world for a look at what else is going on. Now, a policeman in India has decided to spread awareness about the corona pandemic by creating a coronavirus helmet. Chennai policeman Rajesh Babu found a new way to draw the attention of the public when it comes to taking precautions against the COVID-19 outbreak. The coronavirus helmet protects him and others during his police routine, also helps everyone to know that the virus threat is real. There are many celebrities who've joined the campaign asking people to stay home and stay safe, sanitize, wash their hands. But, you know, the world's shortest woman was not going to be left behind. Jyoti Amge, who's just 62.8 centimeters tall. That's actually 2 rulers, kama zile za shule, if you remember them. She took to the streets in central India to call on on people to stay at home after police appealed for help to enforce a coronavirus lockdown. She told residents in Nagpur city, "I feel very happy to be supporting and helping the police today in my own small way." As Wuhan eases its lockdown, older residents, affectionately known as aunties or uncles, are once again taken to public squares and dancing into the night in what has become a national pastime for many. Images of people square dancing on banks of Yangtze River in Wuhan. If you can, you put something in. If you can't, you take something out. On a sunny Naples street, the Solidarity Basket ascends and descends, transporting food from street to balcony and back as Naples fights the coronavirus pandemic. People are also coming together to fight another battle, that's against hunger.
Stamattina un piccolo commerciante di verdura ci ha mandato un sacco di cose, una piccola bottega, Buon appetito!
Nel bicchierino, grazie.
Non lo so, è buono. No, dico solo chiesto. Un attimo solo, ok. Lo vuoi? L'uovo.
Our hashtag is new normal, and this is some of what you've been saying to us this morning, some of your feedback. We've got Cam Bob, new normal. Kenyans should embrace kitchen gardening to supplement their diets. Thank you for that response to our earlier story. And we've got a comment here from Daniela. Good morning, watching from Nansana. Thanks for the show. Corona will be history soon. We pray that it will be. We've also got a comment here from is that from Agent 99? Should have changed, have not changed, but now I'm living in another change. You know, the COVID-19 changes. I'm curious about what our permanent new normal will be. Really good question. And yes, let me turn to you very briefly. Let me start with you, Dr. Bosire, if I may, briefly. Now, we've been talking a lot about nutrition, but there are people who are concerned also about losing weight. Then you have issues of concoctions and all sorts of things that people take. What are your tips about losing weight? Sorry, Dr. Bosire, if you can hear me, that was to you. Can you hear me, Dr. Bosire?
No,
yes,
great, sorry.
if you can share some tips about...
we always say when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to weight loss, you are what you eat. And as my friend Dr. Esther usually says, you can never out-exercise a bad diet. So it doesn't matter how hard you want to work out, weight loss begins with your plate. You have to cut down on the total amount of calories you're consuming in a 24-hour period, and then you gotta work out so that you can burn off some of what you've got. The truth is that there are no shortcuts to weight loss. It is not something that you expect to do one-off, lose the weight, and then slide back into your bad habits. Weight loss is all about a very intentional lifestyle that becomes your new normal. You have got to consistently decide what it's going to look like, and when you get started, you have to think about it as this is going to be for the rest of my life.
Irene, your thoughts on losing weight and also supplements?
My weight loss tip would be on how we run the meals out across the day. Because most of the times we eat odd hours, which makes it difficult for us to run with it, and making it a habit. Like, for example, when we wake up in the morning, what do we do the first thing in the morning? Most of us, when they wake up in the morning, they take their breakfast. Some of us, when we wake up in the morning, we get a glass of water. A glass of water helps you get time to really adjust your stomach and really find out how much of the food you need to ingest in the morning. And putting in mind that breakfast is the most critical meal of the day, and the rest of the day you can run with what you have. Also putting in consideration that you need to take something between the main meals. It helps you stay full for longer. Also, the food that you're eating, we need to concentrate on long fiber. Long fiber takes a long time in the stomach before it's off, so you stay full for a long time. And when I talk about long fiber, I'm talking about things like bananas, arrowroots, sweet potatoes. These are things that stay for long in the stomach as compared to you just snacking or taking something like, let's say, bread, a piece of bread, and then you take a mandazi, and then after some time you still feel hungry and you really need to eat. So for weight loss, we also have to balance with exercising. There is nothing that comes easy. And we say most of the times, like now we are in the house, we are not doing a lot of, let's say you're used to walking distances and all, but we also need to incorporate the exercise bit as you're still in the house. Like you can make a routine of at least making sure that in the house you do an extensive exercise of like 30 minutes. Do what you love doing. If you love dancing, get the music on. You can dance for 30 minutes. Get yourself sweating, get your metabolism excited, and it will help other than just staying in the house and saying, I'm going to manage with food. When it comes to weight management, it goes hand in hand. It comes with food. It comes with your body, what your body needs, and in terms of if you have an underlying disease or ailment. And also, it also comes in hand with exercise. So the three of those have to be observed and maintained. So don't exercise again after a month or so. So if it's going to be a trend, you need to set aside like 30 minutes. When we talk about supplementation, I'll take you back to what we started by saying when we were starting off. We talked supplementation comes in when we realize that we are not meeting our daily nutrients requirements. And mostly it's done for the micronutrients, which really help in the body breaking of, let's say, even when we are forming the disease-fighting elements. So for you to supplement, you don't just wake up and decide I need to supplement. It has to come from a doctor's prescription. Just the same way you go for drug prescription, you have to have assessment from a nutritionist, and then you have to have all the blood tests and all tests done, and then from there the doctor and the nutritionist agree that we are going to supplement, and this is the supplement that is suitable for you according to the requirements that you need in your body at that particular point. So for supplementation, it falls back to individual.
Okay, thank you, Irene. Dr. Bosire, let me come back to you briefly. We have expectant women who are watching this program, people who are looking forward to having a baby. What is your advice nutrition-wise?
Nutritionally, for the expectant mother, we always say that first of all, in the first trimester, a lot of women are not even able to tolerate food to begin with. And at that time, we basically say, please just eat to stay alive, where we're not going to be so strict in terms of the content, because at that point the baby is really the size of a bean. They don't need too much. What is important are the supplements. In the first trimester, we always say folic acid. In fact, we recommend that the women should start folic acid even before they get pregnant, if they are already planning to do so, because there is no problem with taking it even if it's for 4 or 5 months before conception happens. But for the first 4 months of pregnancy, folic acid is the most important supplement during that period. We also do give calcium supplementation in that period for women who have a history of high blood pressure, or in a previous pregnancy have experienced high blood pressure of pregnancy. At that time, the calcium is not being given as a supplement, but rather it is actually being given to help prevent the recurrence of the same in this pregnancy, or to delay the onset of the hypertension in pregnancy at this time. By the time the baby gets to the second semester, the mother is able to eat better, the morning sickness is subsiding, and she's really feeling a lot more like her normal self. And now we begin to really encourage them to now try and really eat a balanced diet as much as possible, but also to not overeat. Throughout pregnancy, we say that you only require an additional 500 kilocalories on top of your regular requirement. And if you are obese, then this is definitely not the time to lose weight. It is not safe to try to lose weight during pregnancy, but we recommend that we keep it on the lower end. So eating about 2,300 kilocalories would be adequate for such a person. For somebody who's a bit smaller, maybe up to about 26 would be safe, 2,600 kilocalories. Keep the plates balanced, keep it very, very high fiber because of the increased risk of constipation in pregnancy, and lots and lots and lots of water. Then from 20 weeks going forward, iron supplementation becomes literally mandatory, because physiologically the requirement is so high, and this is also a time when you can say, look, we can bring in all the other multivitamin supplements to help the mother along.
Okay, Dr. Busiri, I'll have to cut you short because I gave you an assignment and I want us to close with our meal plan. So very briefly, in just about 30 seconds, we'll start with Irene. You are preparing breakfast for us. What's our meal plan for breakfast? What did you have in store for us, very briefly?
Our meal plan in the head will come with eat your colors. In my plate, I have 2 slices of arrowroots, an egg that is boiled to avoid extra fats, having some yesterday night beans on the same plate. I'm having my glass of milk, and before I take my breakfast, I'm taking my glass of water.
Thank you. That tastes really good from where I'm seated. Dr. Busiri, you are responsible for our lunch. What are we having?
I'm keeping it very simple with mashed potatoes as our starch, liver for our protein, and I like pumpkin leaves. Those would give us vitamins and fiber for the day. I would color it up with whatever available seasonal fruit is there. Today, sweet banana is my specialty, and I'll wash that down with lots and lots of water.
Thank you. Finally, in 30 seconds, Jane, our dinner?
I'm having ugali with some omena and some green vegetables, which are terere. And on top of that, I'm topping up with an avocado as my fruit, and also trying to make my food be a bit tasty, and also giving me good oils. And I'm ending up with a glass of water.
Thank you, Jane, Irene, and Dr. Busiri. Thank you very much indeed for those tips. For you watching us, join us. We're going to serve you breakfast tomorrow. It starts at 6:30 with a bit of workout. If you survive that, we'll be back with the show, Your World, from 7 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. Thank you for watching.